Yo, what's going on, your boy Noobs here with a brand new video for you guys today, and welcome to my channel. Hope you all have a good day. Hope you all have a good this morning. We have another reaction video for you guys. Today we're going to react to a video called "Why Do We Play Games We Hate" by Daryl Toss Games. That's today's reaction video. Before we get into that, as always, follow me on all my channels. Link to my channels will be in the description box below, and Linktree. Follow me on Twitch, link in the description box below as well. Link to the original video will also be in the description box below. It'll be the first link in the description box below. Show him some love if you like his videos. Give him a subscribe if you like the video we're gonna watch. Give him a like. Give me a like. All that good stuff. We're standing right now because we're a content creator sit down a lot. So for today's reaction, we're standing. I don't have a lifting desk, so the angle is gonna be a little weird. You have to look at my nostrils and things like that. But that's neither here or there. Before we get into the video, though, for those who want to recommend reaction videos, you can, but there is a caveat to it. A little bit of Western monetization and capitalism attached to it. Be a subscriber on Twitch or a subscriber on Patreon, or just good old donation. You can recommend a video to react to here on this channel. Let's get into today's video. That's actually an interesting title because quite often a lot we do play games that we hate. If you go on Twitter, put any video game, you'll just see nonstop hate about that video game, and people are still playing it. People see people like look at Overwatch 2. The entire community is like always shitting on Overwatch 2, but they don't stop playing the game. People are shitting on Halo, still playing Halo. People are shitting on Destiny, still playing Destiny. People are freaking shitting on RPGs they don't care about. Sport games, people are still buying Madden, but complaining about Madden. They're complaining about NBA 2K, still playing 2K. Every major game has a community that's always complaining about it, but still playing it. If you hate it so much, why are you still playing it? Let's get into this video.
9. A plane is about to take flight, but this isn't just any normal plane. This is the final form of planes, the future of airway travel. This is the Concorde, engineered and manufactured by the French-owned Sud Aviation and the British Aircraft Corporation. An aircraft that boasts a top speed over twice the speed of sound. This thing can make a flight from London to New York in only 3 hours, a feat that takes most commercial airliners nowadays over 7 hours.
That ain't nothing for an SR-71 Blackbird. Blackbird gets you from New York to London like 30 minutes. Let's go.
And if you're thinking, that's odd, this was over 50 years ago, how is that possible? Then you might have realized that this story does not exactly have a happy ending. The Concorde, a beast as it was, had a beast's appetite. Because of an uncanny fuel consumption, engineering challenges requiring high maintenance costs given that it flies twice the fucking speed of sound, made the upkeep and upfront costs of this thing astronomical. The initial estimates to build and maintain one were already outlandish, but the actual costs were almost laughable at around 6 times the original estimate. And because of this, as you can imagine, trying to sell the Concorde to airlines was like trying to sell cuts of filet mignon to McDonald's. In fact, despite several airlines across the globe initially showing interest in purchasing some, once all was said and done, only Air France and British Airways bought into their lavish invention, insisting that it would in fact be the future of aviation. A grand total of 20 Concordes were built, and it was in service for around 27 years until it was finally retired shortly after a tragic crash in the summer of 2000. Financially, it left both the UK and France astonishingly deep in the hole. The question, of course, is, given its flaws and complete lack of profitability, why did its creators insist on going through with it? As marvelous as it was, once global interest vanished and it became an expensive toy instead of a way to generate massive revenue, instead of cutting their losses and moving on, why spend nearly 30 years trying to redeem this financial black hole? Actually, speaking of financial black holes, here's a better question. Why are you still playing Genshin? Why do we play?
That is true. I know why people play Genshin. I'm not going to ignore the fact that people out there who actually like the game Genshin Impact, but I do think a chunk of the community that plays that game plays it because of sunk cost fallacy. It's a gacha game. They're all spending money on that game, so they're all putting all this money into it. I feel like that's primarily the reason why people are stuck on Genshin, because they spend hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars to get these pools, to get the characters that they want, get their favorite waifus and things like that. So they just stay playing because it's like, I put all this money into the game. Want to keep playing it because I'm money's worth. Same thing because like BDO, for example. BDO it's kind of just a boring game, really good combat and a very good character creator. but people still play because they put so much money into it. You know, so that's people put so much money into it, so they stay playing these games because there's so much money that they invested in it, and they want to make sure they get their investment out of that game.
Play games that we hate? Why do you still go catch every new Terra Raid Pokemon in Scarlet and Violet despite actively berating the game on Reddit? Why do we spend 2 hours getting stepped on by Lady Maria, rage quit, decide to start something on our backlog, then go load up Bloodborne again?
Whoa, hold on. There is nothing wrong with getting stepped on by Lady Maria. Like, she can do that every day of the week that ends in Y.
Why are you texting Destiny 2 again when it keeps leaving you on red? It has always fascinated me how we all seem to have at least one game that we play that we actively despise but simply cannot stop playing. For most of us, this is competitive games because we don't actually hate the game, we hate losing. We hate losing. These games are usually extremely fun in the beginning because we're actively improving. There is a lot to work on and our rising skill is noticeable. But once we iron out all the basics and we're hashing out smaller, more delicate things like when the chance going for a harder combo to finish out a round or sideboarding for a specific card our opponents are playing.
Yo, this guy's a Kenny main. I'm also a Kenny main. Top of the morning to you, homie.
We kind of plateau and suddenly improve.
He's also an Ash main like your boy too. Oh, word.
When that happens, because critiquing ourselves is much more difficult, we might shift blame onto the mechanics or the connection. And I think this is why some folks spend the second half of their time with the game chasing the feeling they had during their first half. But this is just the tip of the iceberg, because it's not just competitive games, baby. It's not even just difficult games. There are people out there that feel this way about titles from every genre. You've read the video title, you know what we're here to discuss. Why is there sometimes such a disparity in what we say and what we do? Now, I've broken up this video into 4 cute little categories, and somehow, hilariously, League of Legends fits into all of them. I'm very happy I don't play this game. So without further ado, let's hit the first category and talk about...
Like, I've heard so many things about League of Legends, and every time I thought about playing it, people who play are like, don't. Like, I have a friend, a mutual on social media, who's like, she used to do League of Legends content creation, she kind of stopped, but she was a big League fan, she played League a lot, she does like League arts that you can buy if you're into leagues, if you're a Twitch streamer, you want to buy like, you know, League of Legends emotes and things like that. She makes that kind of stuff. And I was like, I'm thinking of playing a League, and she's like, don't. She's like, the game's horrible. My cousin who also plays League, I was like, I'm thinking of playing League, and he's like, don't. So I haven't.
How the hate makes you stronger. Some games are built to make you hate them, or at least it might feel that way. Competitive multiplayer games, games with brutal, unforgiving difficulties that bully you and beat you down into submission. The Binding of Isaac, Darkest Dungeon, Overwatch, Street Fighter, Souls games, Fear and Hunger, Magic the Gathering. Just by simply reading these names out loud, someone watching this started sweating. It should go without saying that the pain these games make you feel comes from the fact that at some point, you will do a fair amount of losing in them. In fact, there will be play sessions where you probably spend more time losing.
Like, I'll be honest with you, I play games like Street Fighter. I know that I'm not a great fighting game player because I don't focus a lot of my time playing fighting games. Most of my games that I play are RPGs and shooters. I'm very, very good at shooters. And so like I have that high expectations of myself when it comes to shooters. But fighting games, since I don't invest in them a lot when it comes to my own playtime, I'm not expecting to win. If I win, I'm happy about it. If I lose, I'm just like, yeah, sure, whatever. But if it comes to like sport games like Yu-Gi-Oh! And FPS games, I expect to win because I know how good I'm at those games. So I will get a little frustrated if I do lose, but I won't get mad. I don't, especially at the game. I'll get mad at myself, or I'll blame something else like most people do, but I won't like hate the game for it. None of the games that I play that he's mentioned so far are games that I actually like liberally hate, other than Overwatch. I do hate Overwatch, but it's mostly because of decisions Blizzard has made, as well as the community. The community is very weird, filled with pedophiles. Would Overwatch like a fucking plague. But I love Souls games. I don't find Souls games frustrating. I don't find them, I don't even find them that hard, to be honest. And I love them.
Than you do winning. And in the context of single player games where you aren't facing a human opponent on equal terms, most people attribute the reason for that loss either to the game or to themselves. And because of this, you might find yourself in a constant state of shifting blame. Maybe the first few times you die, you blame the game for being unfair, and then you adjust and realize how you should actually handle that situation, which feels spectacular because you've overcome real adversity. But because there is always that struggle state before you fully understand how to handle certain enemies and scenarios, you are constantly re-bombarded with the thought, man, just when I thought I knew what I was doing. Now, of course, when you finally understand that next boss or bit of platforming, you're back to signing autographs and kissing babies, and it's what pushes you to keep playing despite the hell you were raising 5 minutes ago. But games like these, in my opinion, want you to loathe them because that's what gives your victory meaning. They're both rewarding and maddening, but they are addicting because of something called a variable reinforcement schedule, which I've talked about before. This is how slot machines keep you coming back. They don't reinforce every effort you make, they pay out very sparingly, which in practice is what most brutally difficult games do to the average player. You only win a small fraction of the time, but once you hit the jackpot once, you're hooked, constantly chasing that fleeting glory that you once had before. The difference, of course, is that your skill is the determining factor here and not a random probability, but the fact remains that when you don't just get to win every time, it makes winning mean more and it keeps you coming back for a long, long time. Which is why Street Fighter has been suckling away at all of my time this summer, and certainly not for any other reasons. And this begs the question, what if we do add that third factor, another human player? Like I said earlier, the plateau exists. Eventually, once you hit a certain skill percentile of the player base, improving your own game doesn't come as quickly or as easily as it once did. And in fact now, to stay competitive, you must confront a big, sweaty, mean, and daunting reality: the meta. If there was a new trick or technique like the Korean backdash in Tekken, wave dashing in Melee, wave control in League, hyper tapping in Tetris, actually just kidding, that's rolling now. Rolling is the new meta. You see how this keeps moving? Bunny hopping in Counter-Strike, handling Oko in Magic the Gathering, other shit you've never heard of but want nothing to do with. You're going to want to have something to do with if you want to win at a high level. Artorias in Dark Souls is the same opponent if you boot up Dark Souls in 2013 or in 2023, but human opponents in Dota 2 in 2013 are a far cry from human opponents in 2023, because humans evolve, adapt, and innovate new ways to exploit games mechanics, creating an ever-moving standard if you want to remain truly competitive. If you don't and you just want to enjoy playing with friends, that's wonderful, please enjoy yourself. But I think another reason these games provoke so much outward contempt is because you can dump a ton of time into them only to then blink and then realize how much work you still have to do to keep on winning. The metagame can leave you behind, and trying to keep up and learn all the new tech if you aren't a pro can be exhausting. The game you boot up tonight may only be an echo of what it was back when you
That actually, I'll be honest, when it comes to like that situation, when it comes to like the meta, and at a point where you get to a mental point where you just don't care anymore, and it becomes like an exhausting trying to keep it with the meta. Some of the games that I play competitively, not like pro, I would never go pro, not because I'm not good enough. I think I'm good enough to go pro at most FPS games, but that's neither here nor there. But like when it comes to like the meta, I find myself just not giving a fuck about any meta in the video game. Like I'll play Rainbow Six Siege and just play my style, and I've been playing my style for like 8 years. Like my play style in Rainbow Six has not changed at all since the game has come out, other than maybe like being more aggressive. But that's pretty much it. Like I don't make any decisions based off what the meta is or who's the most used characters and things like that. I just play how I have fun, and that's it. And I feel like part of that is because of the frustration or fatigue of meta. Like I don't want to have to follow the meta, because I feel like if I follow the meta, then I become that person who is frustrated when the meta changes to something that they don't associate with want to play. So let's say like you're playing Call of Duty, for example, and the meta is everyone's running gun. Everyone's just running, no one's camping. And the meta switches to being camp heavy with like riot shields and shotguns and trophy systems, and you're still playing that running gun meta, and it's like, I don't want to switch to that. But then someone else does switch to that, and it's like they're mad at themselves, like, this is boring, I hate this, I don't do this, but I had to because it's the best way with me to get a win. Never been me when it comes to that situation, but like I understand it.
first fell in love with it. You might spend 100 hours on a shooter, have a blast, take a break, and then spend another 300 trying to recapture the fun you had in the first 100. It's for this reason that I am very much a massive fan of the first year of a fighting game's release. That is when I have the most fun playing them. But eventually, I just have to hang out my boots because learning all of the new tech and relearning my character's best buttons after balance patches is just too much to keep a firm grip on, for me at least.
Same.
However, for many other folks
not necessarily when it comes to like fighting games, but just in general, when there's so many changes happening to a video game, I would much rather just move on or, you know, play it casually than have to relearn just because of balance changes or because something, you know, else happened with the game. Rather just, you know, play it casually or just move.
adore that game and can't keep up anymore, walking away might be a little less easy, especially since they've spent so much time with it. In short, they are simply... The creators of the Concord were also in too deep. They had invested several years and exorbitant amounts of money to make this project take off, pun very much intended, and when they ultimately landed no buyers, they had two options: cut losses and move on, or double down and try to make this work. You know how that story ends. They fell victim to the sunk cost fallacy, which some of you I'm sure have been thinking about since the video started. In case you don't know what this is, the sunk cost fallacy is a little devil of an error that humans make. It's the tendency for people to stick with a course of action when in reality, giving up on it and accepting the current loss of time and resources would ultimately be best. It's quitting while you're ahead before things get ugly. It's driving to Target only for them to be out of Pro Controllers and then on a whim buying a new phone case and a soft pretzel since you already came all this way and spent the gas when you probably should have just saved your money. It's caving on your diet because you've already ruined it by having Popeyes for lunch. May as well go out again for dinner since the day is shot, right? It's continuing to play a game that you hate because at this point you've already sunk 100 hours into it. You've got a rank, rare gear, things you've built, things you're proud of, things you're not proud of, but quitting now would mean it all goes to waste, right? I use the Concord as an example because I think it illustrates just how deep-rooted this fallacy really is in our psyches. No matter how big or important a decision, even if it is a several billion-pound endeavor, humans are still fallible to the sunk cost fallacy, which means you are certainly at risk of falling for it when you're considering quitting a game that you've poured a ton of yourself into. And this is as true for competitive games as it is for really any game you can play. Whether you're chasing nostalgia with Pokemon and are trying really hard not to notice its quirks, or just aren't feeling FF16 for whatever reason, you're already 30 hours in. Can you just walk away now? You couldn't walk away from Target. What we don't like to do is admit that our effort has been wasted, and because of this, past a certain point, it's often easier to just stick it out and see a game through to its end instead of putting it out of its misery, even if it's an absolute drag and we still feel like we've wasted our time playing it when we finally do finish it. Now there's something interesting that I came across when I was researching for this video. A lot of people explain that discrepancy between their disdain for a game and their strangely hefty playtime by saying that if you don't do that, tons of people will hit you with the, well, how can you say you hate it when you haven't even finished it? How can your opinion be valid if you haven't given it a fair shot? Which leads us to... I simultaneously have a fair bit of pity and respect for the folks that go out of their way to finish games simply so that they can say, now that that's done, I can fully articulate why I hate this game. I came across this because I found an old Kotaku article about how a ton of people were requesting refunds for games after playing them for 50 plus hours, which is like calling the waiter over to your table and asking for a refund on your empty plate because your steak dinner wasn't very good. Some of the comments are gold though. I had no clue people did this, but it made me realize that even if I can usually tell very quickly if I'm going to vibe with the game, and in fact I often may be a little too quick to judge, a lot of people do genuinely feel like they can't fully decide how they feel about a title until they're sufficiently nose deep in the sauce. They need to wait and see if the story picks up. They need to know if the combat is surprising.
I'm really good at knowing what I like, what I want. And this is just like a life thing. When I was dating, and I wanted people who say, oh, I don't know what I want. I'm just looking like, no, I know exactly what I want. I know exactly what I'm into. Video games, same thing. I know exactly what I like. I know exactly what I don't want. Like, I can watch a trailer from a game before it comes out and be like, okay, that doesn't look like it's for me. I can look at a streamer who's playing a video game and be like, okay, this game's not for me. At the same time, I can look at a trailer, look at a stream, look at whatever I look at and be like, okay, that game's for me. he's showing Nier Automata. I never played any Nier game, but I saw Nier Automata and I was like, that game looks interesting. I knew for a fact I was going to enjoy it because I looked up the game's the gameplay trailer and I was like, that looks cool as hell. I'm going to be into that. And guess what? I was. Very, very rarely, especially if I'm on my Twitch stream, very rarely we see me play a video game where I expect it to be good and then I hate it afterwards. It doesn't happen because I'm usually pretty good at judging a game. You know, when it comes to like, I'm going to enjoy this. Not about you, myself. I'm going to enjoy this. I know I'm going to enjoy this. That's why I installed this game. All this because I know I'm going to enjoy it. Like, I'm good at that. I'm good at knowing exactly what I want, seeing what I want, and then just enacting on it. I will rarely ever freaking like play a game that I have no interest in. I'll very rarely play a game that I know I'm going to hate and still play it regardless. You won't see me do that. So even when it comes to like games that I can install for free, if I can play a game for free, I'll get to like the character creator sucks. That tells me that this game's going to suck too. I'm out. Because if developers like about the character creator, they don't care about my time, my interest. And the same thing comes like just like a game. Like if I can play the first 30 minutes of a game that's free, I can spend the first 30 minutes if I'm going to enjoy this game or not. Even if it does get better 30 hours later, I can tell in that first 30 minutes if I like this or not.
Surprisingly deep once you get to some of the bigger challenges. They need
To add, I don't want to say this before anyone like wonders how you can 30 minutes. There's a certain vibe you get from a video game. There's a certain like fundamental thing about a game. Games have a fundamental gameplay loop, a fundamental style. You can see that what the fundamentals of a video game is within the tutorial, within the first 30 minutes. You know, for example, Forspoken. I did a review for Forspoken on my main channel, and I enjoyed Forspoken as a video game. And I knew going into Forspoken what issues that it had, and I knew going into Forspoken with the first like hour of that game, first 2 hours of that game is mostly just dialogue and you walking around. But I was still invested because I like that kind of game. I do like story heavy games. I do like seeing like a lot of cutscenes. My favorite games are Witcher, Mass Effect, and Dragon Age, and Elder Scrolls, things like that. So I'm very into, you know, just long-winded dialogue. I'm okay with that. When I speak, a lot of times I'm very long-winded in what I'm talking about. Like this take right now is very long-winded. So I can tell just looking at this playing experience in the games tutorial, experience in the games, character creator experience in the games, you know, cutscenes and dialogue and how things are building up in that first 30 minutes. Because a lot of times when it comes to making a product, you have your act 1, your act 2, your act 3. Act 1, the beginning of that, you want to get people hooked on it. Think about Mass Effect 2. Mass Effect 2 starts off with your ship being destroyed, ship dying. That immediately happens in the first few minutes of the game, and it makes you want to stick it out to figure out what happens next. You know, Mass Effect 3 has a big start. Elder Scrolls Skyrim starts off with you in a freaking a freaking carriage, about to get beheaded. A dragon attacks. You're like, need to figure out what's going to happen. That's all within the first 30 minutes of the game. You are getting an idea what the game is going to be like. It right then and there. When you play Halo, you don't play Halo and you just like experience a whole new game 8 hours later. No, when you play Halo CE Combat Evolve, you start off as your Master Chief. You do the tutorial. Boom, the ship's being attacked. You got to go deal with the Covenant. Yeah, that happens. So like games show you who they are at the beginning. A lot of people they feel like, oh, I gotta wait until, you know, later on to find out what it's like. And some games will have like droughts. So like the first hour is super engaging, and it's just a long drought of potentially boring content, and it gets good again. Then droughts of boring content, then it gets good again. That happens, but that initial thing though is always going to be there, where that first 30 minutes is going to happen throughout the game.
to discover if they find themselves thinking about the game when they're at work or at school. A lot of people may not know that they hate that game until hour 50, especially if it's a game or a series that other people are constantly in a hyped up frenzy about. Have you ever been playing something and then said to yourself, what does everyone see in this? Because to me, so far, it's just been fine. There's got to be something I'm missing here, but I don't want anything spoiled, so I'm just gonna keep going. There's this.
That's never been me because I don't care. Like, I know it sounds like it's gonna be like a very mean kind of take, maybe not, but I don't care a lot about other people's opinions on what I enjoy, and the same thing like goes the other way when it comes to like I don't care about other people's opinions on what I don't enjoy. Like if I don't like Stardew Valley, I'm not gonna go look for people who do like Stardew Valley and try to figure out why they like it. If I don't like Returnal, I'm not gonna go try to find people who do like Returnal and see what their reasons are. If I don't like it, I don't like it. I don't need to validate why I don't like it. I don't need to find excuses to where I could like it.
Thing called informational influence, and you've certainly felt it plenty of times before. Imagine you're walking through a public place and you see a small crowd of people gazing up at the sky and pointing. They're really baffled about whatever is up there. As you walk by them, what do? Probably look up and see what they're looking at, right? I found this clip of these college students doing this, and it's hilarious watching people fight the urge to see what they're missing, but finding out what we're missing is what makes informational influence work. In ambiguous situations, we typically perceive the actions or beliefs of the majority to be an accurate source of knowledge, which has definitely never caused the spread of misinformation before. If you've never played a Zelda game before, and this many people think Tears of the Kingdom is fantastic, it can't be
I've never
bad,
played Zelda
right?
before.
I think this is another big reason why we often keep playing games that we hate. Socially, we know that many people can't be crazy, right? What do they know that you don't? And so, you keep playing and looking for answers. In some cases it's worth your time, in others it is not. But if you're chasing the same experience everyone else had and it doesn't quite do for you what you were hoping, then all of that time is regretfully gone, and there's no getting it back. We've talked a lot today about if the game you can't walk away from is actually bad, but what if the game is brilliant? What if you adore that game? You've recommended it to everyone you know, you have a Triforce tattoo, you've named your firstborn child Cornifer, and then one day you notice a flaw. One day you find yourself a little irked by how tedious your 9th playthrough is. One day you realize that you and this game are actually just an... One of my favorite song lyrics of all time comes from an old Rupert Holmes song, Escape, the Pina Colada song. I was tired of my lady, we'd been together too long, like a worn-out recording of a favorite song. And I think it's a fantastic line because it perfectly encapsulates, not just in the context of relationships, but in all things in life, how too much of a good thing can sour that thing for you. I had a decent idea of what I was going to write about when I came up with this topic, even before I posted this question for you guys, and you've seen responses to it throughout this video, but something I did not anticipate writing about was comments like this, pointing out that when you play something so long that you become intimate with every little detail of the game, you start noticing cracks, flaws, idiosyncrasies that annoy the hell out of you. Maybe it's that certain attacks on a boss are unavoidable under the right circumstances. Maybe it's that the in-game economy is kind of wonky. Maybe it's that a particular stretch of the game always...
Alright, so I'll give my example from like my favorite games. I have played Mass Effect games more than anybody. I'll take it to the freaking grave. I'll stand on that hill and die on it. I have more hours, more playthroughs, more everything in Mass Effect than anybody else on this freaking planet, and maybe in Dragon Age as well. Dragon Age not as much, but I kind of like put it up there as well. I hate no matter what. I love the games. Mass Effect 2, love it. Hate the planetary scan stuff. Think it's pointless. Think it's stupid. Think it wasn't necessary at all. I also hate how expensive things cost in Mass Effect games. All three of them, like stuff just costs too much freaking money in those games. Not real money, in-game money. It all costs too much. Like it's not necessary. Like it's irrelevant. Like the amount that it costs is irrelevant. By the time you get to the end of the game, you'll have everything anyway. So it's like there's no need for it to cost that much. It's irrelevant. But when you're playing the game, new playthrough, and you're buying like all the things you need before you finish the Mass Effect 2 off with suicide mission, things like that, or whatever you're doing in Mass Effect freaking 3, you're like, I don't have any more money, so I can't buy that until I come back later. I had to come back to this exact same space station in 3 hours to buy this thing that I could have bought right now, but I only get like 200 freaking credits for the mission that I just did. So, I had to wait so I can make up another 15 grand. That happens in Mass Effect 3. Like, you got to buy levels on a gun. So it's like, you got like a N7 Valkyrie level 1. You got to buy it up to get like level 10 for that Valkyrie. just wasting money, and it all costs so much money. I hate those mechanics. I can love a game but hate mechanics, and that's you too. You can too. You can love a game but hate individual mechanics about that game. I love From Software games, but there are some bosses that are horribly designed. I love Elden Ring, perfect game, but a lot of the reused bosses and reskins of bosses is some of the worst things in that game. The Elden Beast, one of the worst designed boss fights in history of mankind. Love Elden Ring.
Drags and doesn't really add anything. Maybe it's that there are certain strategies or weapons or cards are just obsolete in the presence of other alternatives and don't really ever contribute to the gameplay. Maybe you should play something else. We've talked about variable reinforcement schedules and sunk cost fallacies and games that make you rage, but somehow this is the one that's the most heartbreaking for me to think about. Because it's not that you keep playing because you think eventually it'll get good, or that you feel like you're in too deep to cut your losses, or that the hatred makes winning mean more. It's not really hatred at all. It's just something beautiful, slowly wilting. It's the realization that something you love so deeply is flawed, and that you'll never get to have that magical first playthrough again. Is it better to leave the game once you're done and move on to something else so that you can remember it fondly? Or to indulge yourself with the experience over and over until you're absolutely sick of it? Which I think weaves nicely into the last thing I want to talk about today, what we take away from all of this. When do we know it's time to walk away from a game? And the answer honestly depends entirely on you. I think it's important to understand what you are looking for when you play a game. What are you chasing? If it's to be competitive in a meta that seems to have left you in the dust, it's up to you to decide if it's worth your time to catch up and then keep up. Do you love the pursuit of getting better that much? Are you still playing that gacha game because you're afraid to miss out on the new content and feel like you have too much time and money invested? Or do you play because you adore the community, the characters, and the story that's swept you off your feet? Are you playing this because you want to understand the buzz? Or are you playing this because you're genuinely captivated by your time with it? Is the victory worth what the game is putting you through? Are you still having fun on this playthrough? Or are you just trying to recapture the wonder of your first steps in this world? Is it time to avert your gaze to let this flower wilt and go find a new horizon? The answer is up to you, of course, and I think as I'm writing these closing lines, I'm realizing what this video has really been about. Letting go, knowing when to move on. And it's not lost on me how first world problemy this sounds. You know,
like that idea of letting go would actually be a great thing for the overall gaming industry. I feel like the reason why we have the current industry having video games when it comes to like all this live service, when it comes to like modern video games, is because the players don't let go. I keep mentioning it in a lot of my videos about how people hate Destiny, people hate Overwatch, hate this game or hate that game, but still play it. They're not letting go. If you want those games to change, you have to let go. Bungie, I mentioned in my video when it comes to Bungie and their general manager, he made it clear that he cares a lot about two things more than anything else: retention and revenue. If you're still playing the game, they don't care that you hate it. You're still playing it. That's how every developer sees it. Not every, but like the ones who are making these shitty games. That's how they see it. If you're still playing, they don't care what your opinion is. They don't care if you hate it. They don't care if you don't like that microtransaction. They don't care if you hate that decision. You're still playing. If you let go, you will have a better game. If you're an Overwatch fan, you love Overwatch. You love all the characters. You love Bastion. You love Pharah. You love Ana. You love Ashe. You love all the characters. You love the potential of the lore. You love the backstories and things like that. The characters. Let go. If you let go, Blizzard will be like, okay, we had something here that was really good. People loved it. We fucked it up. We're gonna revamp the game. New engine, new this, new whatever. Come back. If you're playing Destiny, you hate Destiny, let it go. Stop playing. Stop funneling money into Bungie. They'll be like, oh shit, we're in danger of not paying our bills. We need to make a good game. Our next expansion will be the best expansion that you've seen. We'll actually invest in a good story. We'll invest in good armor. We'll do all these things. Games change when that player count goes down. if they're part of a big studio, they can't just abandon the game and never do it again. Like a small studio or MMOs, for example, from like Korea and China, if they player base drops, they just cancel the game. Look at Bless Unleashed, look at Alien, games like that where the player base just drops off a cliff, they just shut down the servers. But for bigger games, they can't do that. Well, they won't do that because how much money they invest into making that game. They have to make it better. Halo Infinite had a very, very bad release when it came to its multiplayer, and people just left. So Halo became a game that's trying its best to do good by the community. Community doesn't like hitting MMR, hot fix. Hitting MMR's gone. If you stop playing a game, you stop funding the money, you let go, they make changes because they need you to come back and play their game. They need you to come back and spend money. Otherwise, they're out of a job.
Man has crisis over when to stop playing games. I get it. I'm the same guy who made a video about having too much to play. Oh, poor me. But this is something that real people clearly deal with. And I think it speaks more to their nature as humans than it does to the games they play. What have you not let go of? What are you waiting on? Where is your sunk cost? What is your concord? Whatever it is, I hope you find what you're looking for soon, even if it means you have to look somewhere else entirely. So if you love what you're playing, I hope you never hate it. And if you hate what you play, I hope you love hating it.
That was a very, very good video. Very, very good video. There's more to it though.
Hey you, thanks for watching.
Thanks to Patreons. Please give that video a like, subscribe to his channel. I'm going to subscribe to him. I never even heard of this guy, to be honest with you. That's not nothing new. It's not like a flex name. I don't pay a lot of attention to like other creators that much. I don't even follow like people on Twitch. I follow like a few people on YouTube, but I'm going to subscribe to him because this is a very good video. It's going to be in the description box below. So first link in the description box below will be this video. Go to the video, like the video, watch the video, leave a comment, and all this stuff. It's a very good video. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Y'all stay safe. If you got to another, be boy Anubis the Game Archer. Follow me on Twitch. The second link in the description box below will be my Twitch stream. Third link in the description box below will be a link tree that has you all the links to ways to support my channel, my other YouTube channels, and socials. If you want to keep up with me on social media. I've been boy. I'm out of here. Y'all have a good rest of your day. Deuces.